Hey everyone, my name is Sara Harberson. I'm America's college counselor. It's good to see you all. I'm going to be doing a rapid fire Q&A. So students, parents, college counselors, relatives with students who are going to be going through the admissions process or are in it right now, you can ask any admissions questions that you want, and I'll try to get through as many as I can tonight. I see they're already popping up, which is awesome. I just want to mention that I save all my Facebook Lives, so you can access them by going on my Facebook page for Sara Harberson or Admissions Revolution, or even my website as well. And I'm happy to be back here again. I do this every single month. I've been doing it for years, and this is where I got my start. So I'm really grateful for all of you. If you want to give me any shout outs, let me know where you're coming from. If you're a parent, if you're a student, if you've got some acceptances, please share. I'd love to hear, and also congratulate those high school seniors who are hearing back from colleges right now. All right, let's get started on the first question. My freshman son is currently taking Spanish 3, so that must mean that he took Spanish in middle school. In sophomore year, he has only one elective to choose from between Spanish 4 and his advanced computer science class. That's his intended major due to double blocked calculus. We know the 4-year of language rule for highly selective schools, but also our school has only AP Spanish 4, not an honor, and grading is very strict, and he also likes computer science more. How should we go about this? This is one of the most common questions that I get asked on Facebook Live, on Instagram Live, and also on the discussion boards of my Application Nation groups. It's complicated because when students take especially foreign language in middle school, it allows them to already be advanced when they get to high school in 9th grade. So for this parent's child, the student was already in Spanish 3 by 9th grade, and it sounds like there's only one more Spanish class that's offered at that high school in that sequence. So what I will say is, if he skips Spanish for sophomore year, I would want him to get back and have Spanish by junior year. And that can be tricky too, because a year away from a foreign language means it's going to be that much tougher to get caught up. And if Spanish 4 is the AP Spanish class, it can be a lot more challenging. But the tough part is if you're thinking about computer science, you really want to take those advanced level computer science classes at your high school. So computer science right now is a very popular major for high school students to list on their applications, and you want the most evidence to back that up. I would say advanced computer science, if that is the most advanced level computer science class offered at the high school, you could take it sophomore year, you could take it junior year. But honestly, if the high school offers AP computer science principles and or AP Science, Computer Science A, those are going to be more respected than a non-AP CS class. But I would say you still want to try to get that AP Spanish in it. And if you skip over sophomore year and not take it, it's going to be that much harder to get caught up when you do take AP Spanish. So I really believe to probably take AP Spanish for sophomore year if you can. All right, next question. Hi Sarah, if you apply early decision 2 and then hear from an early action program, can you withdraw the early decision application? This is another good question. And I wrote a blog about all the ethical issues that students face this time of year. The moment you get admitted to an early decision 1 or an early decision 2 school, you have to immediately withdraw all your active applications as long as the financial aid package looks good to you. So there is no, at this point, if you did not withdraw your early action application, you have to immediately let that early action school know that you are not going to be enrolling, because there are really strict rules about students. The moment they get admitted to an early decision school, that's where they're supposed to be going, unless of course there's an issue with your financial aid package. My daughter's dream school is one that is a little beyond my comfort level for tuition. She was already accepted there. I know we can write a letter asking for more money, but I don't have any better offers of financial aid yet as we are waiting on California schools. What is the best approach? We just talked about this in Application Nation class of 2021. And the advice from the veteran parents in Application Nation and also from what I've seen is as you get closer to that May 1st deadline, which is when students are supposed to send in an enrollment deposit. Some colleges may extend that a couple of days beyond May 1st this year because of the pandemic, but for the most part, you're making a decision around May 1st or right before that. As you get closer to May 1st, and these colleges are feeling even more pressure to get students to enroll, you might have better luck with that college actually giving the student more merit money. So yes, you could write a letter, and I think the letter should really come from the student. When it has to do with a merit scholarship, the student should be communicating. If it has to do with need-based financial aid, oftentimes I think the parents are better suited for that. But in this case, I would recommend the student write a really thoughtful email to the admissions office, to their admissions officer. And even if you don't have a better offer now or later, you could talk about basically you want to make a case for why you deserve more merit money. Part of it could be academic achievements that you received after submitting your application. Part of it could also be about your family and the financial situation. So you want to do whatever you can to influence that college to hopefully offer you more money. My hope is, though, that in the coming weeks, your daughter will get other offers and more merit scholarship offers, and she can include that in her letter as well. All right, next question. What is the best way to leverage existing offers from other somewhat similar schools to increase merit aid at our daughter's first choice school? So we just talked about this, but a letter from the student or an email from the student, and again, making a case for more merit money. You gotta be your own best advocate in this situation. And then if you have better offers, ideally they're better offers from comparable institutions, meaning the two institutions see eye to eye and they see themselves as equal partners or equal institutions, then providing that actual other offer or offers is going to give you the most leverage. So good luck. All right, next question. I believe you shared the part on every college's website that breaks down all the admissions information. It had everything you can think of. Could you remind me what I should be searching for on the school sites? Yes. So this is the common data set. Most families don't even know about it. Most colleges don't want you to know about it, by the way, but it's public knowledge, and they're supposed to provide information about all facets of the institution. But for those students who are going through the process or beginning to start the admissions process, you want to go down to the section that's called first year or freshman admissions. It's usually on page 7 or 8. And in that section, the college is supposed to provide information about how many students apply. They actually break it down by gender, how many students were admitted, how many students enrolled. So you can figure out acceptance rates on your own. You can figure out yield rates. You can also, if you're curious about waitlist activity, not all colleges provide this information in their common data set, but you can find out last year, for example, that Vanderbilt admitted over 400 students from their wait list last year. So there's a lot of really good information. Check out the common data set. You're probably going to find more information about admissions than just looking at the college's admissions website. And to find this, you can just do a regular search, but you can also do a search right on the college's website, and it's usually available through like the institutional research website of the college. All right. Thank you for posting that. Yeah. Next question. Do you really need a prestigious summer program to get into a top school? No, you do not. You don't need any summer program, whether it's prestigious or not. You know, my feeling is, especially, these days, I want high school students to take a break from any academic program for the most part. I know that there's some students that really want to continue doing it, but there is really no reason to do it. I think students really need a break in the summertime. So there are other things that you can do that are what I call reportable. And reportable means you can report them. You can list them on your activities list. So a summer job you can do in the summertime, and you can list that on your activities list. Family responsibilities, starting your own business, pursuing a hobby, training for a sport. These are all things that you can do during the summer. If you are applying to highly selective colleges, they don't even like these summer academic programs. Most of them are what I call pay to play programs, which means, of course, it could be a selective program, but if you pay, you are able to go to them. And these highly selected colleges don't want to give any sense that they are advantage to students who are able to afford them. So I would not spend the time, I would not waste your money. I would just do something locally, especially this year, because I think you can get just as much out of it and maybe even more out of it. Next question. How much of early decision admissions is legacy or made up of legacies and athletes? All right, so early decision, everyone, if you are a new viewer to my Facebook Lives, early decision is a program that some colleges will offer, mostly private colleges and private universities. There are a few exceptions. William & Mary is a public state university. They have early decision too. And what ends up happening with early decision, if a student applies and they get admitted, they're committed to going to that institution. So for colleges that offer early decision, you're usually going to see, well, you might not be able to see because most colleges aren't going to make this available to you, but I'm going to tell you that if they have an early decision program, their acceptance rate is going to be a whole lot higher in early decision than it is in regular decision. Sometimes twice as high, 3 times, sometimes even as high as 4 times as high as it is in regular decision. For recruited athletes, a lot of times the coach wants that recruited athlete to apply early decision because they know that if they support that recruited athlete in the process and they get admitted, they can guarantee that that student is going to be going to that college and going to be on their team. So a lot of times in the early decision round, and even for an early action round, you're going to find that a decent percentage of those students who are getting admitted are recruited athletes. The legacy portion, I would say, is probably shrinking across the country, especially among selective colleges, even though early decision is your best shot of getting admitted. As a legacy applicant or a non-legacy applicant, it's just getting harder and harder. So yes, absolutely, there are a lot of legacy students and a lot of recruited athletes applying in an early decision round, but there's still plenty of other students who have no tags whatsoever, have no connection besides just being extraordinary students, and they have a really good chance of getting admitted in that early decision round. All right, next question. Do merit aid decisions come with early action admissions decisions, or do they come later? It depends on the institution. So some colleges, when they accept you, they will put your merit scholarship award or list the amount right in your decision letter, or will attach a merit scholarship award. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks or even longer than that. So it really depends on the institution. For the more selective colleges, if you're getting a merit scholarship, and that's sometimes an oxymoron because some of the highly selected colleges don't even offer merit scholarships, but when it comes to merit scholarships and financial aid, a lot of times the more selective colleges try to do it all in one fell swoop. So if they admit you, you're also going to see your financial aid award that same day with a link through your decision letter or your portal, and also usually your merit scholarship award as well. All right, I've seen a lot of seniors making elaborate portfolios of their engineering or computer science work on a dedicated website. Some incorporate this into their LinkedIn profiles. Would an AO look at a personal website or a LinkedIn profile? It's possible if you provide it, especially in the application. And so that just means that they're going to take a very quick look, if they're going to look at it at all. And the same thing goes for, a writing portfolio or for a resume. They might glance at it. If it's a website, oftentimes they're just going to look at the landing page. If you're lucky, they might get one page in, click on another link. So it's just really important that if a student is providing that information in the application, that their landing page or that thing that pops up is going to be really, really impressive. You know, sometimes students will say, you know, can I attach an article that I wrote? Well, as long as it's really strong and strong right off the bat. But these admissions officers are so pressed for time. They're reading applications in literally a couple of minutes. And if they click on a link or look at something extra, it just takes away from getting through that application. So if anything, they're just going to take a very quick look at it. So make sure if you're going to share something that it's going to be spectacular. What is the truth about student athletes and recruiting? I hear 2022 has hit the hardest and many schools have already closed recruiting for 2022. I think it depends on the sport. And I'm also hearing that those athletes that have missed a year of eligibility could stay on another year to play the sport. So it definitely is affecting athletic recruiting on every single level. You know, the student athletes who are in college right now who aren't able to play their sport, the current high school seniors, and I think also those younger students, class of 2022. I think it depends on the sport, it depends on the division, it depends on the athletic league. If the coaches have finished up recruiting, I can tell you that the Ivy League and the really elite small liberal arts colleges, they kind of just get started in the summertime because a lot of times they have to wait to see if those athletes have committed elsewhere. And not that they get, you know, what's left, not at all, but they really get to see who is really interested in them. So just keep that in mind. If it's an Ivy or a highly selective small liberal arts college, like a Division III NESCAC school, like Hamilton, where I went, Williams, Amherst, Wesleyan, those are some NESCAC schools. You might not really be getting a whole lot of attention from the coach until late spring and summer. So just keep that in mind. All right, when do you think test blind or test optional will be established for schools for fall applications? Good question. So we started to see over the last, I would say 4 to 6 weeks, a number of colleges already announce that they would be extending their test optional policy for the current high school juniors. But I anticipate we will continue to see that. It's basically like once, you know, a bunch of highly respected colleges and universities begin to extend the test optional policy, it's almost inevitable that we will see a lot more colleges follow suit. Test blind is a little bit more unusual. And just to clarify, so test optional means that the student has the option to either submit their scores with their application or not. Test blind means that the college is not going to be evaluating your SAT or ACT scores at all in the admissions process. Sometimes there's no way of actually providing it, or they will just block it from the admissions officer who's viewing it. Test blind is pretty unusual. I know Reed College has been test blind for a couple of years, even before the pandemic. And what's interesting is Cornell University, they've got a number of undergraduate schools. Some of the undergraduate schools at Cornell this year and for next year are test optional and some are test blind. So just keep that in mind. So test blind is a little bit more unusual. All right, next question. My daughter was waitlisted to her top choices honors college. Should she write a letter of continued interest? Any suggestions on content of letter? Thank you. You're amazing. You're amazing too. Thank you. Yeah, you can write a letter if you got waitlisted to the honors college program, because you have to remember, it's just like with general enrollment, you know? So some students that they were, you know, hoping, you know, to actually enroll in the honors college, maybe they go somewhere else, and that opens up a spot for you. So absolutely. You want to show continued interest. This is when demonstrated interest really can make a difference, is when you've been waitlisted, either generally for the college or possibly even for the letter of continued, or if you've been waitlisted. So that letter of continued interest, you want to make it the best darn letter you've ever written. You want to put it all out there. You want to give the college the updates about things that have happened to you, not just academically, it could be extracurricularly, it could be personally, something that you're really proud of, could have been something that you did for your family or your neighborhood or a relative. So this is your time to lay it all out there, be your best advocate, you the student. and any updates you're going to want to include in there. If you got admitted to another honors college, but you want to go to that one that you're writing, put it in the letter. Because it puts a little pressure on them, and there's still a possibility that they could have room in that honors college program. So congratulations to your daughter. That means that she's been admitted, and I'm sure sending in that letter of continued interest can make a difference, especially for certain schools. All right, next question. What do you anticipate happening with SATs and ACTs for high school graduating class of 2023? So the current high school sophomores. I always need that little extra hint because the class years are swimming in my head, especially with so many Application Nation groups. But 2023, you're right, is the current sophomores. And I know that because my daughter's a freshman and she's 2024. So what do I anticipate? I don't know. I'm still kind of waiting. It's interesting because a couple of the colleges that have announced that they're extending their test optional policy have actually indicated that they're going to be doing it for the next couple of years. So I just posted on my Instagram story yesterday or the day before, the University of Southern California announced that they would be extending their test optional policy. And I didn't see it at first, but then when I read the article more carefully, I saw that they are actually extending it for 2022 and 2023. The reason they do that, I think we all have to be hopeful that the pandemic will be done by then. So it's not about access to testing. It's more about gathering data, because a college knows that the more information that they have about how these students do once they get to college, the more, well thought out their policy is going to be and the more evidence they have to back it up. So for a college that extends it even beyond just next year, it usually means they're watching the data very carefully. They're looking to see the quality indicators of the admitted class, of the enrolled class, and again, how those students do once they get to campus. I worked at a test optional college, several years ago, many years ago. I was the Dean of Admissions at Franklin and Marshall College. They had been test optional for a number of years, even before I arrived. And what was really cool about their test optional policy is they were tracking GPAs of students for several years. So what they would do is they would see how students do in terms of GPA after freshman year. And they would look at students who submitted scores and students who didn't submit scores. And what was so interesting was that those students who didn't submit scores in the admissions process did just as well as the students who submitted scores. So that was great evidence to back up why they continue to have a long-standing test optional policy. The other thing that I really am going to be curious about, and I think I mentioned this in another group in the last couple of days, but I'm going to be really curious to see if colleges release data on their acceptance rates between students who applied with scores and those who did not. At F&M, at Franklin and Marshall, we used to track that, and it was eerily similar. We didn't try to, but every single time at the end of the process, we would see that our acceptance rate for the students who submitted scores was very similar, like almost the same, maybe a point here or there, to the students, the acceptance rates to the students who didn't submit test scores, who applied under the test optional policy. And that's ideally what you want this year, next year, or for any college that adopts a permanent test optional policy. You want it to be very similar chances whether you submit scores or not. All right, so what kind of impact will it be if a student only has 3 years of foreign language? Latin was really tough for him, especially my dear son goes to a STEM magnet school. Okay, I'd say I'm not concerned about taking Latin for 3 years as long as that third year is junior year. I think if he had Latin 1 in 8th grade, Latin 2 freshman year, Latin 3 in sophomore year, and there are other opportunities to take Latin 4 or AP Latin, I think that would be a little bit concerning because colleges want to see students take advantage of the curriculum. If a student doesn't take foreign language junior and senior year, that can be concerning to a college because almost every college, even kind of the technical majors and programs, usually have a foreign language requirement for college students. So it just means it could be harder for that student to meet those requirements because they might have to actually start over in a foreign language. So just keep that in mind. All right. Recently, I heard another advisor state that a large number of schools are overwhelmed with women as applicants, and now many schools are significantly unbalanced by gender, and that female applicants are at a disadvantage. Is this accurate and something you should pay attention to when making your college list? This is such a great question. So it's been more than a couple of years, but I wrote a piece several years ago for Huffington Post about female applicants. Hey, I have 3 kids. 2 of my kids are girls, so I'm thinking about this as well. It's fascinating because for most colleges, yes, women outnumber men in the applicant pool and outnumber them on campus as enrolled students. It's going to vary sometimes from program to program, but for liberal arts undergraduate schools or liberal arts colleges, for the most part, you're going to see a lot more female applicants, and you're going to see it going to be a little harder for those female applicants to get admitted. So I agree with what that advisor said. It really depends on the college. It really depends on the program. But here's the thing that you can look at. So we talked about the common data set. Sometimes it's frustrating when a college doesn't provide their acceptance rate right on their website. I have to go to the common data set and actually do the math. And you can do it very easily on your calculator, but on the common data set, the way that they do that and actually makes the gender imbalance very clear is they don't list overall applicant pool, you know, how many students applied. They list how many male students applied, how many female students applied, how many male students got admitted, how many female students got admitted, and the same thing with enrolled students. So you can tell gender imbalance just by looking at the common data set. Because if a college is really struggling to have a balanced student body, they probably aren't going to admit that on the admissions website. They aren't going to say like, yes, we have, you know, I'm thinking especially for some engineering schools, you know, 80% male and 20% female. They usually aren't going to put anything on their website that makes them look bad. But if you check out the common data set, you can usually figure that out pretty obviously. You don't even have to do the calculations. It's usually pretty clear. So great question. And yes, I tend to agree, especially for liberal arts undergraduate programs and liberal arts colleges, females are going to have a tougher time getting admitted than their male counterparts. That's not opinion, it's fact. Okay, all right. I saw your recent blog around admissions acceptance for Asian Americans. What advice do you have for those who are Asian American? How can we stand out? Will this be covered in your book? Looking forward to receiving mine. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think the blog came out on Monday or Tuesday. You know, I'm from Jersey, as I often tell you. I tell it like it is, and I truly want families to know what really happens in the admissions process. And there is a lot of bias, not just for Asian American applicants, but for a lot of other groups as well. And so I try to make it clear to you. But here's the thing. Sometimes when I tell families that there has been, historically, there's been a lot of discrimination in the admissions process against Asian Americans. Sometimes they say, well, I shouldn't self-identify my race or my ethnicity. And I disagree wholeheartedly because it's really important, number one, for you to self-identify because it protects you. If the college is found to have discriminated against you because of your race, because of your ethnicity, because of your religion, you've got to have proof that you made it clear what your background was. So it's really important to self-identify, even if you think that you are a group that's been biased in the past. Things are changing because people like me talk about this and I write about it and I put it out there so that these colleges face what they've been doing and try to clean up their acts. The second reason why I think it's really important to self-identify your race and your religion is you don't want them to think that you're something but you're actually not. So it makes it very clear and that there is not a guessing game. They're not questioning, they're not thinking that you're one race but you're actually another. So it allows you to set the record straight, okay? Now, how does an Asian American student stand out? How does any student stand out? They've got a really distinctive soundbite. So that's what my book is all about. And yes, it's available April 6th. You can pre-order it. Maybe we'll provide a link if we can, right on in the comments section, and you can pre-order your book right now. But the SOUNDBITE concept is the way that I've approached the admissions process, actually as an admissions officer, as a dean of admissions, but now as a college counselor. It's my little secret weapon, little secret sauce that every single student can do. So it doesn't matter how high your grades are, how low they are, what you do outside of the classroom. If you have a really powerful, distinctive soundbite, you're good to go. You are gonna land exactly where you should. If you have a goal in mind, you're gonna get to that goal, and it really can help you in every stage of the process. So my book comes out in a matter of weeks. So I hope you get it, and I hope you're able to read it. If juniors take the SAT before June, should they do the essay component? No, there is no college at this point that requires the SAT with essay and the ACT with writing. So there is no need to do it. It's extra money and extra prep work. Any more questions in there? Well, colleges want this for 2022 applications knowing it will be canceled. No. In fact, the last remaining college announced last year, this was the University of California system, that they are they were no longer requiring the SAT with essay or the ACT with writing. So that was last year. That was the last remaining college. At this point, don't do it. More money, more stress, more prep work when you don't even need it. So just the regular SAT and the regular ACT. All right, a few more questions. Have you found merit is generally less this year due to COVID? Less money from room and board, sports? I'm actually seeing a ton of merit scholarship money. And I think it also means more leverage for students who want more merit money between now and when they make a final decision, usually May 1st. So I'm also seeing that colleges are giving out merit scholarships to those students who submitted scores and those who did not. I haven't been able to gather, I kind of want to wait to see what happens at the end of the process to give you some trends that I'm seeing, but we're tracking this in our Application Nation Class of 2021 group. So every time a student says that they've been admitted and they got a merit scholarship, we then ask, did you submit your scores? Because we want to try to come to some, ideas about how colleges approach this. And if colleges gave advantages to those students who submitted scores versus those who did not. But hopefully I'll have some more information to share with you at the end of the process. Where can you find real scholarships besides the school's website? So one way to get a merit scholarship, obviously, is to get it from the college or university. Sometimes you have to do a separate application. Sometimes you are automatically considered just with your application. But there are a ton of outside scholarships. And you can look within your local community. Usually your college counseling office or your college counselor has a list. Hopefully it's an electronic list at this point. But they usually will have some of the local scholarships in your community. And they could be small. They could be $500. They could be $1,000, but they start to add up. You're going to find that the bigger scholarships are available through corporations, outside organizations, and there are certain criteria. So you can look, there's actually a really great free website that the U.S. Department of Labor actually provides for scholarships. You can check that out. I know in Application Nation, we have our own merit scholarship guru, so she gives us a lot of advice about where to find these scholarships. But another thing to look at is if you hear of someone in your community get a big scholarship, like Coca-Cola, for example, look it up, see what the deadlines are. Those big corporation scholarships are very competitive, but you'd be surprised. There are so many out there. If you have a certain soundbite, let's say, and your soundbite has to do with maybe you're a female robotics national champion, let's say, you could probably do an internet search, merit scholarships for females who are national robotics winners, and you will probably get some scholarships just by doing that. So soundbite is great because you can pull out keywords from your soundbite and use them very effectively in every stage of the process. All right, one last book. Oh my gosh, I love this. Will you have an audiobook available as well? I can't read for too long, plus I love listening to you. Consider recording it if you haven't already. All right, you guys ready for this? I literally fell off my chair because just like, I think it was like a week ago, I get an email from my publisher, actually, the audiobook producer of Hachette. I didn't even know there was someone like this. He reached out and he said, okay, we've got to record your audiobook. So I'm actually doing that next week. It's going to take me 3 full days. I'm going to be drinking a lot of tea, and yes, I'm doing an audiobook, which is really exciting. So I can't wait to share some tidbits. Maybe I'll share some stories on my Instagram account, so check that out. It's going to be next week. And last question, does your Application Nation class help students one-on-one with essays? Yes. Oh my gosh. In so many ways. So we get started right after junior year ends. Because I like to know as much as I possibly can about every single Application Nation student, I like to approve the topic for the main essay. That's number 1. And then I offer essay editing for families who want to take advantage of that. If a family doesn't want to do that because it's an extra cost, I do 2 Zoom calls just on the main essay and then 2 Zoom calls on supplemental essays. And I also offer the essay editing for supplemental essays as well. All right, I think we got to wrap up. Hope to see you guys back here again next month for Facebook Live. You can always follow along on my Instagram story, and hopefully I'll be sharing some cool things next week doing the audiobook. Also going to be sharing all of these acceptances from our Application Nation class of 2021 group. So definitely follow me. You can follow me at Sara Harberson. I love seeing you guys, and I hope you stay well and look forward to seeing you back here again next month. Take care. Bye-bye.